Raider Nation, it's Mitchell Renz here from the Raiders Report, and coming up on the show, we're going to look at the latest Raiders rumors, some NFL news that happened today because a lot of OC news happened in the NFL. Also, if you haven't been paying attention to this show and some other rumors that have been circulating around the silver and black, Hondo Carpenter threw out an idea that there is a secret OC candidate that the Raiders could potentially bring in. I did a video on it yesterday, but now there's been some new stuff that has surfaced. So if you don't know exactly what I'm talking about, it's from this right here. Hondo, there are still a lot of names out there, I was told, that was one name that nobody has. I don't have them. I don't know who it is that could possibly get an interview. That was rather large, big name coach. A former head coach. The person said, I'm not going to tell you who it is, so I can truthfully tell you I have no idea who it is, but I was told it was a very well-known former coach. So yesterday, here on the show, and if you want to subscribe, this is just one of the reasons why you do. We put out more content than anybody else out there. I put out who I believe this secret OC candidate could potentially be. If you want to go check out the video, please do. I throw out 5 names that are in that. However, I go home, I start speculating a little bit more. You start trying to follow a few tea leaves. Had a few people call me and said, hey, man, it could also be this option here. So what you're going to see on this show are more names of who it could potentially be. But the biggest reason why I am making this show is because I saw Graphic Raider go live today, and I go, oh, my God, what is this thing about Chip Kelly? And then I see the report from Mike Florio stating that multiple NFL teams are apparently interested in Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly would be this big-name coach. Would he not be? I'm not saying that this is the guy that it is. It's just a rumor that is going on out there, and maybe this is the person that Hondo is referring to. If you don't know who Chip Kelly is, head coach of the UCLA Bruins, and anytime Florio throws stuff out there, it's going to get traction, so I feel like it's my job here as a host to be able to talk and communicate whether or not I think it's true or not. He was the head coach for the Oregon Ducks, the Philadelphia Eagles, UCLA, and you got to be able to give Chip some credit because his offense really gave people some big-time fits. On top of that, I know Telesco falls in love with certain schools, and I know he's a big Notre Dame fan, and I know that there's already been reports about him falling in love with Bo Nix, Oregon, Chip Kelly. He's obviously has his Oregon ties on top of that. Highly regarded offensive-minded dude. To me, Chip in an offensive coordinator role would be very fun to watch, though. Would he end up taking the Raiders' job? And there's definitely some speculation there. However, though, I do want to be able to add 3 more names, or at least 2 more names that are legit. One name that I'm just going to squash right away. Let's go to the next name that I think it might possibly be. David Shaw, former head coach of the Stanford Cardinals. And the reason why I'm throwing out Shaw's name here is because according to Vincent Bonsignore, probably about a month and a half ago, he said that the Raiders were interested in Shaw as a potential head coaching candidate. And I never really believed it. I know that Shaw has interviewed before for the Raiders in a lot of their head coaching gigs, and he fits this bill as well, former coach. And one of the things that, I didn't really think about in the OC candidate video was, well, it didn't necessarily say head coach. It just said head coach. So the fact that he hasn't been an NFL head coach, but he was a Stanford head coach from 2011 to 2022. Also on top of that, worked with the Raiders from 1998 as a quarterbacks coach to 2001. So plenty of ties there with Mark Davis. And I know Mark loves guys that previously were a part of his dad's regime, if you will. So here's a fun question. We always ask, who do you want? Well, guess what? This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show, and it's one person that you would hate to be the Raiders OC next year. You're about to get hit with a YouTube ad break. I want you to scroll on down and give me your answer on who would be the one person that if the Raiders hire him, you would hate it to be the OC. Coming up is actually going to be one of my answers. Not both the people, but there would be one person I would definitely be a little bit more upset about. But what we're going to talk about here is another potential secret candidate. And the guy that I'm going to talk about next, legitimately, I'm kind of mad at myself for not putting him in my video yesterday because from what I understand, there is some validity to some of the rumors out there that I've heard around him. I will tell you who it is in just a second. It's definitely not Josh McDaniels. That's probably the answer a lot of y'all are going to put here for the OC. I'm looking at the live show. Everyone's putting OC. That's freaking hilarious. It's not Josh McDaniels. Don't worry. But I do got to show some love to today's sponsor, Prize Picks, and I think this is something that all of y'all are going to like. At least I know Paige Davis would. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and make sure that you use code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. Whether it's for the big game, 49ers, Chiefs, whether it's for a random NBA game. I mean, shit, My fiance Alex and I, we went to a Dallas Mavericks game yesterday, in a game where it's Mavericks against the Orlando Magic. I'm going to be real with you. I don't care about either of those teams, but I had so much fun. Man, I put down $10. I had a chance to win 50, and I'm rooting for rebounds. I'm rooting for assists. I'm rooting for points in a game that I do not really care about. That's what Prize Picks can do, and that's why I absolutely love it. It's the reason why it's the #1 daily fantasy sports app out there, and anybody can get started by going down to the links that are in the comments and the description. If you're like, Mitch, what are you going with for the big game? Right here. This is what I'm going with. Patrick Mahomes, more than half a passing yard. I need Juszczyk to catch one football. Pacheco needs to score. He scored a touchdown in 7 straight games, so he better find the end zone again. Brock Purdy, 11.5 rushing yards. Give me the more on all of it. 20 to win $200. In a game that I don't want the Niners to win, and a game that I don't want the Chiefs to win, especially the Chiefs, at least I have a chance to make some money, and I'm going to have some fun watching the game no matter what. So if you're sitting at home right now going, Mitch, I'm not watching the big game. I'm not watching it. I hate the Niners. I hate the Chiefs. Do you hate making money? Do you hate having a little bit of fun in your life? I don't think that anybody hates having a little bit of fun. So promise me that you guys, if you're that fan, try this out, because I guarantee you're going to be able to watch the game and then actually enjoy what you're watching. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use code CLNS to get started. All right, coming up here are some other potential secret candidates. And this next name out there is one that I'm telling you, from what I'm understanding here, is one to take with a little bit more validity. And I gotta give Chugs his flowers on this one. He jokingly said it, and then somebody texted me yesterday. What's today? Tuesday? Yeah, Monday, and said, what about this name? And it's Jason Garrett, former head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. And I don't know if I should clap. I don't know what the hell I should do seeing this. I'll be real with you. I would not want Jason Garrett to be the OC. But remember, in the original thing that Hondo said, previous NFL head coaching experience, which he has. Then on top of that, okay, not only was he the Giants head coach from 2011 to 2019, he was also the Giants OC, Cowboys head coach, Giants OC from 2020 to 2021. The reason why that's important, don't get me wrong, the Giants offense these 2 years, I believe, were like 30th in the NFL and 31st. Absolute garbage. But Patrick Graham was the defensive coordinator with Jason Garrett with their time for New York. The other thing that I was told was the Raiders have had to do a lot of bullshit with past Patriot regimes. If you remember, the head coach of the Giants in those 2 years was Ben McAdoo, who came from the Belichick tree, who came from the Josh McDaniels tree. So if the Raiders want to blame it on the Patriot tree again and just give Jason Garrett another opportunity, I could see that being a reason. But all I'm saying is, I'm not saying that this is the guy, but this should be somebody that I do think fans should at least keep an eye on, because he's got ties, previous player, which is something that the Raiders have cared about, and he's got that relationship with Patrick Graham already. Just something to throw out there and keep in mind. Here's one person who I can guarantee you it isn't. It's not Jon Gruden. Let's say it again. It's not Jon Gruden. There is a 0% chance that Gruden will ever come back to the Las Vegas Raiders. He left/was fired back in 2021 for the emails. I mean, let's just be real here. But also, I think this is one of the best things that happened to the Raiders in a sense, because I was not a big believer in Gruden either. He ran an old-school vanilla offense that was predicated back in the early 2000s and had no innovation whatsoever. He was also historically probably one of the worst talent evaluators that we have ever seen in the draft and in free agency. Shit, even in trades. I mean, Jon Gruden and Mike Mayock were worse than Josh McDaniels and worse than Mike Mayock together. Like, I think Gruden was a better coach than McDaniels, but Mayock and Gruden combined, I think, were actually worse than Ziegler and McDaniels. I had a lot more confidence in Ziegler. Bottom line is this. He's not coming back. He's not the secret OC candidate. Anybody that wants him to come back here to the Raiders, I question your level-headed thinking. You probably also want Aiden O'Connell to be the Raiders starting quarterback next season. Coming up, let's get into the latest Raiders and some NFL coaching news that I do think that you should see, because unfortunately, there is an NFL team right now that is trying to steal away one of the Raiders' coaches, which I get it, and it's just part of the game sometimes. It happens from time to time. If anything, we should look at it as a little bit of a kick in the butt of say, hey, we need to promote this guy, because to me, the Raiders need to promote assistant offensive line coach Cameron Clemens, because right now, according to Ian Rappaport, he was requested to interview for a Panthers offensive line job, a young, impressive candidate who should get more interest. The reason why he is not allowed to get blocked is because he's an assistant offensive line coach applying for an O-line coach. Also, on top of that, if you remember, the Raiders, they lost Carmen Brasillo already. And you all know how much I like Carmen Brasillo. He's now with the New York Giants. So if the Raiders are smart, maybe they can quickly promote Cameron Clemens. That way we don't lose both of our offensive line coaches. More news here around the NFL, and Tom Pelissero, Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson, informed the Seahawks and the Commanders that he's staying in Detroit. This one was a big one. This was a big-time surprise, and the reason why I'm a little bit nervous about this report is because I was so confident that Ben Johnson, I think a lot of people were confident that he was going to get the Commanders job, and then Dan Quinn, he was going to end up taking the Seattle Seahawks job. Well, what I'm worried about is what if Quinn takes Seattle's job, and what if Washington doesn't necessarily go with a Mike Vrabel? Maybe they go with a Bobby Slovic. I just don't want to lose Patrick Graham. I don't think that they're going to hire another defensive-minded guy, but that idea does scare me a little bit. And until the Commanders hire a head coach and until Seattle hires a head coach, there's always going to be that little part of me that's nervous of losing Patrick Graham. Though, I don't think that they are. What's also interesting was Johnson was not the head coaching lock that people thought. If you remember about a month ago, Josina Anderson threw out a price that apparently he's looking for like $15 million per year. People from Ben Johnson's camp are like, oh, that's not true. Well, it was confirmed today that Ben Johnson was asking for way too much money. Coming up here, some notes from the Senior Bowl. So today was the very first day at the Senior Bowl, and I'm really just going to talk about one player that I heard that showed out today, and then the two quarterbacks. So we'll talk about Michael Penix Jr., we'll talk about Bo Nix, and we'll talk about somebody that was at the Senior Bowl that I think is a pretty good sign for the Silver and Black. If anybody wants to watch the big game with Jeremy Chuggs and I in person, we're going to be in Vegas at the Ahern Hotel. Here's the address. It's going to start at 2 p.m. Pacific time. It is free to enter. It will be first come, first serve, unless you reserve your spot, which you can reserve it right now. The link is going to be down there in the comments. It's also going to be down in the description of today's show. Go to chatsports.com/biggame. I'm going to say it again. Chatsports.com/biggame, BIGGAME. This is how you can reserve your spot. So we're going to be able to fit up tons and tons of Raider fans in this thing. And if you do want to reserve your spot, it does cost money. However, I think it's a hell of a deal if you ask me. Like, you can get a happy hour pass for $99, and it's going to be all you can eat, all you can drink. Or if you do want to actually, pop up on the show, chug a beer, yell Raiders with Jeremy and I, there are going to be opportunities for that. I would recommend getting the VIP pass, which is $149, which still free food, free drinks. There's going to be a lot more giveaway chances as well, more opportunities for people that get the VIP pass, but it is free to attend. I just can't guarantee you a spot. Like, if 600 people come, that's not a bad problem to have. It's just then it will be first come, first serve. If you're like, Mitch, I'm not going to take the chance. I know how the nation gets, especially when they watch the show. Reserve it, because for 4 hours worth of eating and drinking, all you can for $99 or $150 in Vegas during the big game, that's a steal. Some places, I've already looked, Jeremy just said it, some places it costs $100 just to go in, right? $200 just to go in. No food, no drink. This, you're getting all you can eat, all you can drink. $99 or $149. It's a great deal, and it is kid-friendly. I want to throw that out there. So one more time, chatsports.com/biggame. Reserve your spot right now because they are going to go rather quickly. William Plain says, that is a freaking deal, y'all. It is a freaking deal, y'all. So from what I understand, the MVP from today at the Senior Bowl was Quinyon Mitchell, which breaks my heart a little bit, cornerback from Toledo. Not because I knew he wasn't going to be good. I did a mock draft probably, it's my first one of the offseason where I had Mitchell fall into the Raiders in round 3. It's not going to happen. In fact, I think he ends up going in round 1. I mean, his draft stock continues to go higher and higher and higher and higher. He's starting to turn into one of my guys. And who was the cornerback that Seattle drafted that was the freak athlete? Tariq Woolen. Tariq Woolen I had in a third-round mock, and I said, this guy's he's a different athlete, and maybe not a lot of people know about him because he's from UTSA. Here's not the same type of player, but a player that not a lot of people maybe know about, and he's going to end up going in round 1. Quinyon Mitchell is one hell of a player with an even better last name. One person that I got some notes on today, because we do have a source that's at the Senior Bowl that's here at Chat Sports. I was told that Bo Nix looked average today, and maybe he looked average because he wasn't the best quarterback there. I was told that Michael Penix Jr. was much better than Bo Nix today at the Senior Bowl. Again, it's a practice. They're running with different receivers that maybe they're not used to. But from what I understood today, Penix was throwing the football all over the field, all different levels of the field, and looked significantly better than Bo Nix. You can take that with what you want. I have Penix Jr. as my 4th-ranked quarterback in this year's draft. I have Bo Nix ranked as my 5th quarterback in this year's draft. But what I did want to throw in here, I wrote it down in my notes section, and I do not want to forget it. Also, the Raiders, they did not send Antonio Pierce. He wasn't there today. Tom Telesco also was not there today. But here's what's good. Juwan Daniels was there, and assistant GM Champ Kelly. To me, the fact that Champ Kelly is at the Senior Bowl, I think it's just about everything that you need to be able to confirm that he's going to be coming back here with the Las Vegas Raiders. Appreciate all of y'all for tuning in to this show. If you haven't already, subscribe. If you haven't already, give me a follow on IG and Twitter at MitchellRents365, and go reserve your spot right now. I want to party. I want to get a little bit wild during the big game for Chugs and I. And if you love what we do for watch parties, you're going to love what we do in person. And I would love to be able to do watch parties for Raiders games next season in Las Vegas. And I'm being real with y'all. If this goes well, we have an opportunity to do it. So I'm asking you from the bottom of my heart, show up for me, show up for Chugs. But I would also like the opportunity to be able to meet more of you guys in person. So please show up, chatsports.com/biggame.